Hi, everyone. Welcome to our 10th anniversary event for PIM. My name is Melody, and I'm the program director here at PIM. Very excited to be moderating our session today and to invite our guest, Saurabh Nanda, who I will introduce in depth later on. But wanted to first say hello to everyone and welcome you all to our event. So before we get started, just want to share some key reminders. If you guys can all just, use the chat box right now and share the location you are at in the chat box, that would be amazing. I'm personally in Denver, Colorado right now, but I'm normally based in Taiwan. And I know our colleagues here on Zoom are also located in various parts of the world. So very excited to hear where all of you are joining in from. Second, wanted to remind you all that we do have the chat feature available. So if you have questions throughout the event, feel free to use the chat box to, ask your questions. And we do have a Q&A section at the very end where I will be moderating and asking some of the questions that you have. So please use the chat box if you have any questions. Third, our video is recorded, and so if you miss any information from our session today, it will be recorded and you can watch it again because there will be a lot of wonderful insights shared today. If you'd like to turn on your camera, that'd be awesome. I would personally love to see who is here with us today, and I know Saurabh would as well. And finally, at the very end, we will have a group photo and have an opportunity for you to join our very private group for PIM so that you can be connected with other social change makers, entrepreneurs, and people who are in the social impact space. And something else I'd love for you all to put in the chat box, in addition to your location, would be actually what animal you are. So in the email confirmation, you might have seen a link to a buzz quiz where you can kind of test out your personality and discover your strengths and what makes you tick, kind of understanding how others might see you and exploring separate choices and jobs that suit you from the perspective of an animal. I think a lot of us might be familiar with the MBTI exam, in which I thought I was ISTJ for the longest time, but I was just telling Sarah as well as Leslie, after taking the buzz quiz, I realized that I've now transitioned over to ISFJ, and I am personally a koala. And my motto is I get it on quickly, meaning I kind of just like do things in the back end, but everything kind of gets done on time. So that's my personality and that's my animal. Sarah, what animal are you?
I am the wise barn owl.
Love that. And what is a barn owl?
I don't know. I've never seen one. Unless, if you think I look like a barn owl, then there you go.
What are some of the personality traits and characteristics of a barn owl?
Yeah, if I start talking about that, I'll only talk about the positives. So let me talk about the negatives. So barn owls, they are very solitary. They like to do things at their own pace. They will keep very high standards for themselves. They will keep observing before they actually take action. So a lot of those things. Otherwise, they are good in observation. They're good in strategy. A lot of times, barn owls suffer from, a disconnect with what needs to be done and what they want to do. So that's a challenge. But yeah, those are some of the things.
Very cool. And I see we have Adriana, who is also a barn owl in the chat box. And then
Adriana, you're the
Leslie,
best animal.
my colleague here, is also a koala. So we have a couple of animal twins in here.
Awesome. Hey, Melody, do you want to share the link again, maybe for some people who might not have taken it? Or
Yeah,
should we do
absolutely.
that?
Yeah,
Okay,
that'd
let
be
me
great.
let me just do that.
Thank you. Perfect. So it's in the chat box for anybody who hasn't had the opportunity to take the exam. feel free to. It's a very quick exam, very fun, and they also give you some career options and pathways going forward. So for me, I thought it was very interesting because I work in the education space, and as a program director right now, I do a lot of admin work as well. And both of these roles were actually recommended for a koala. So yeah, definitely have a look. Doesn't matter which part of your career you're currently at. I think it's a great point of reference for, what could potentially inspire you. All right. So, and I know Saurabh's going to talk a little bit more about that later. So I'll go ahead and start the introduction about PIM. So, Purpose in Motion, also known as PIM, we're a social impact enterprise, and we aim to empower young people with the education, resources, and networks to become mission-driven leaders and effective change makers. So, we hold a number of different activities, including experiential learning programs. We have global competitions, and we support a lot of students and aspiring entrepreneurs to realize their projects as well. Now, you're here today because we have a series of events to celebrate our impact over the past 10 years. Purpose in Motion was founded back in 2014, and over the past 10 years, we've inspired 13,000 plus aspiring leaders in over 50 programs. We've impacted students in over 110 countries via online as well as offline programs. And as stated before, we support a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs to, realize their projects. And so we've had the opportunity to mobilize 850,000 USD to organizations and startups. And we have a series of these anniversary celebrations every month. This month, we're super excited to have Saurabh join us to share with everyone how he's become a change maker himself, and more importantly, how he utilizes the network and builds on these relationships that he's had in order to make a greater impact. And I'm very excited to learn from Saurabh today to see how not only PIM, but only as well as I can make an impact in my greater community today. So if you are interested in joining our 10th anniversary celebrations, please visit our website, pimglobal.org/celebrations to stay tuned on the events that we have coming up. And you can also sign up for our newsletter to receive more information on that as well. Now, I'd like to introduce Saurabh. So Saurabh, he is the founder of SM Mentoring, which is an organization that goes beyond traditional career counseling with its holistic approach. Over the years, Saurabh has also made an incredible impact, impacting over 20,000 students across 35 universities and colleges, spanning 35 plus countries, mentoring youth for multidisciplinary projects in sustainability, tech for good, and psychology. And today, we hope that Saurabh shares with us how he's networked with a bunch of different organizations and people to make an impact, in these 35 countries that he has. He's collaborated with a variety of organizations, including but not limited to the Government of India, Ministry of Tribal Affairs, which just recently launched, Seeds for the Future, Japan, Rise, and Delhi University. And this is just a small part of what he's done in the greater landscape of his career. Now, in addition to his role as a mentor and career counselor, Saurabh also has launched 2 AI chatbots for career guidance and mental health assistance, contributing to his goal of just really supporting the greater community and making everyone career ready. And so today we're really excited to have Saurabh join us for this Changemaker event and letting us know how we can become change makers ourselves and build a greater network around us. Welcome, Saurabh.
Thank you so much, Melody. Welcome, everyone. First of all, let me just congratulate PIM again on their 10th anniversary. It's just amazing to see an organization which is facilitating change across the world, celebrate 10 years. I hope to see 50 more years, 100 more years for PIM. And I hope all of us are there together in this journey. let me quickly share my screen now and just bear with me for a second. Yeah, I hope this should be visible before I press play. I'm just going to, okay, cool. Yeah, let me press play now. Awesome. So, Melody, Leslie, if there's anything in the chat, you will really have to help me because once I'm in the full screen mode, I can't touch most of the controls anyhow. All right. Welcome, guys. I would like to start with this picture. The word Jalandhar, that's the name of the city where I come from. It's an industrial city in the north of India, and this picture is a very special picture for me. Whenever I feel down or demotivated, or start asking questions like, "What am I doing with my life? Why am I doing these things? Why couldn't I just go for that corporate job? And why did I have to start doing all this?" This picture keeps me going. Now, if you can see, we can see the Himalayas in the background. Jalandhar is some 220 kilometers from the one of the lower Himalayan ranges. This is the Dhauladhar Mountains, one of the lower Himalayan ranges. And till the 80s, till the mid 90s, this was a common sight in my city. You would go to your terrace, you would climb up the roof of your house, and you could see the Himalayas right out there, majestic, beautiful, welcoming, nurturing. And then they disappeared. But in 2020, when India went through one of the world's most stringent lockdowns in April 2020 because of the pandemic, it just took 1 month for nature to kill all the pollutants in the air and give us this beautiful view for a few more days. And that's when I thought, in that bleak moment, that the entire world was going through a pandemic. And yet there was this beautiful sight there. Nature just needed a month, just 1 month, and it could bring back to us the beauty and the serenity that it offers. As social entrepreneurs, if you are embarking on the journey, you will need to have an anchor. This is my anchor. What's yours? Because there is an anchor. There is something deep down inside you which will keep motivating you no matter what happens. Which brings us to the major part of any journey, especially an entrepreneurial journey, and that too, a social entrepreneurship journey. We call this process Step Zero. It's a copyrighted counseling framework that I have. We call it Step Zero because the first step, second step, third step, a lot of people will tell you. But before you take any step, you need to know whether that step is useful for you or not. And we call it Step Zero, knowledge of self. How do we do that? Well, a lot of you have done a lot of reflection, introspection. Maybe you had counseling sessions. Maybe somebody else interpreted it for you. Maybe you have a family member who doesn't shut up about you. You know about yourself a little bit. There are other ways to go deeper. That's where this buzz quiz is there. And I hope some of you could take it. If you have not, there's one more chance. Please go ahead. It just takes less than 2 minutes. This is a college website from the UK. It doesn't take any data. It will not store your results. It's safe. Go ahead and do it. Okay. Now, if you have done it, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to help some of the people who couldn't maybe open the link. It asks you questions about 4 areas. Now, this is based on MBTI, as Melody had mentioned, and the real MBTI, Myers-Briggs type inventory, a type indicator, is a very old test. I think it was developed in the 1960s. It used to be MBT, but then Myers and Briggs, it used to be only 3 personality traits, but then Myers and Briggs, they decided to add the 4th one for career and education prospects. So that's why it became a 4-letter code that you get after this. The first question is about where you get your energy from, outside or inside. The second question is about, do you go into details or you like to look at the big picture, right? So all you have to do is you have to choose which of these pairs of options make sense to you. And if, let's say there are more options on the left column, then you choose that side. More options on the right column, you choose that side. The left side in the first part, if you have more options selected on the left side, left column, then you're an extrovert. If it's on the right column, you're an introvert. If in the second question you have more selected on the left column, then you're a sensing person. And if it is more on the right hand side, then you're an intuitive person. So SN. Similarly, next is thinking, T for thinking, and F for feeling, TF. And finally, we have J for judging and P for perceiving. This way, you will get a 4-letter code, something like ENTJ, right? So extrovert, intuitive, thinking, judging. So you will get some code, and there are 16 possible options. And now let's see what the results are. So with that link, you will get one of these animals. And what I've tried to do in this chart is I've tried to give you the 4-letter code corresponding to each animal, right? Now let's take any one of these things here. If anybody would like to suggest which animal we should start with, I can start with that. However, there is something, some popular monikers you might see on social media describing these personality types. Some adjectives, some specialities describing these personalities also mentioned over here. So any suggestion, anybody, any animal that you would like me to start with? Choose any of the 16. Okay, something is there in the chat.
Leslie says, let's go with koala.
Of course.
And then we have another one.
Okay, so let's
we have Qatar, share panther.
All right. So because Leslie, we have talked about koala a little bit, let's go ahead with panther, which is ESTP. All right. ESTP is a promoter. They're stubborn, but yet they are giving, and they keep making a lot of corrections, maybe with themselves or others. But yeah, that's who they are. Now let's understand what ESTP means. And I will also correspondingly explain, the opposite of that. So E is extrovert. That means you love spending time with others. You would prefer working in a group rather than working solo. It's not that you cannot work solo, but you don't get the creativity. Extroverts like thinking while talking. So a lot of you might not be able to be very creative if you're not talking. So a lot of you talk a lot because you think like that. So that is where your creative energy comes from. Extroverts feel that everyone is an extrovert, and that is why they would expect everyone to speak, whereas half of the world is an introvert. Introverts like doing things on their own. It's not that they cannot work in groups or not, they don't like working in groups. They do. But after they work in groups, then they need their own space. Then they need their own time to process things. Otherwise, they become cranky, they become angry, they need their own place, right? So that's what an extrovert and introvert is. Then with Panther, S means sensing. Sensing people are extremely analytical people. All right. They would like to know what is going to happen right now. If I do this, then what? If I do this, then what? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? What are the pros and cons? They are extremely good advisors. People come to them for advice because they are able to figure out the problems of others and then give a very logical solution to them. But most of the times, they're not able to do that same thing for themselves. They're not able to solve their own problems because they're not able to look beyond the present. So, sensing people, extremely analytical. If you want to invest in the stock market, I will suggest you do the analysis, but don't invest money on your own, because within 3 days, you will get such a big anxiety attack that you will take out all your money. So you can give money to a wealth manager to invest for you, but you can do the analysis on your own. On the opposite side, we have intuitive, or N. Intuitive people have amazing, vivid imagination. Doesn't matter if they're an extrovert or an introvert. They have thought of things which other people usually don't think about. They have thought of things like, what if I'm the president of my country, or the CEO of a big company, or the sports captain of a sports team, or the lead guitarist in a lead band, or a novelist, or a soldier, or a lawyer, or something like that. They've already imagined these things. There's a reason why they imagine these things, because they learn by putting themselves in those situations. Oh, if I were a lawyer, what would I do? That is how they learn. They're extremely curious. They want to know everything about everything. All right. So unlike sensing people who only want to know about the things which are important right now, intuitive people want to know everything about everything. Sensing people will go deep into a topic. They will become an expert in an area and they will not rest till they become an expert. Intuitive people, on the other hand, they want to know a little bit about everything. They will not go deep into something. And intuitive people are able to connect the dots. They're strategic thinkers. Oh, if this is possible, then this is possible. And if we do it together, then this is possible, right? Those people are intuitive people. Intuitive people literally can look into the future. That in the future, I want to do that. And because they can look into the future, what happens is they start becoming frustrated with their present. Oh, why do I have to attend this session? Why do I have to go to class? Why do I have to finish my assignment? Why is this important? What I'm trying to tell you is all these personality traits that we're discussing, they're all superpowers. They help you understand not only yourself, but they also help you understand the other person's perspective if you are open for it. If you overuse any of these superpowers, that becomes toxic for you immediately. If you are constantly in your dream world, you're not taking action, that is toxic for you. If you constantly talk and not listen, that is toxic for you. If you keep thinking but not sharing, that is toxic for you. And eventually in life, you will see that you balance out your personalities. So if you take a deeper MBTI assessment, they will tell you you are 68% intuitive and 32%, sensing. So they will give you a percentage also. Why? Because you've kind of balanced out your personality. And that is why a lot of you, when you were taking this test, you might have felt, it depends. It depends on the situation. And in psychology, we call this a forced choice questionnaire for a reason. Even if it is 51% versus 49%, you have to choose the one which is 51%. Because in most situations, you're doing that. Moving on, EST. T means thinking. Thinking means thinking people are those people who are usually very right about what they're right about. They know what is good, bad, fair, unfair, ethical, unethical, just, unjust, moral, immoral. They have very good idea about that. And usually they are right about what they're right about, which makes them rebellious. So they know it is wrong to talk back to somebody who's your senior, maybe, or somebody who's more knowledgeable than you. And they will listen. But at the end of the day, they will still do what they want to do. Now, rebellion is good because without rebellion, we will not be changing the world. If I did not rebel against my software engineering job, I would not be talking to you guys like this, right? But rebellion for the sake of rebellion, nah, that's not going to help you. Thinking people always have this, constant urge to tell other people that they're wrong. Oh, no, that is wrong. I would have said this. They constantly have a courtroom drama going on in their mind. That's what thinking people are. The opposite are feeling. Feeling means people who observe other people very well. They have very good understanding of the other people. They automatically, inherently, they know the 35, 36 micro expressions on a human being's face. They understand the lowering and the high in a pitch of a voice to understand if something is wrong or not. They want everyone to be happy all the time. They will not, even think twice before sacrificing their own time to help other people. And they are not able to say no. Feeling people can be extremely good leaders, but they will have to draw boundaries. And then we have P, perceiving. Panther, you love doing work at the last moment. You love doing your things at the last moment because it probably gives you a kick. It gives you a dopamine rush or an adrenaline rush or something, it feels like, oh, it's the last 20 seconds left in the game, and you have the ball and you have to score a basket or something. It probably that starts happening. And most of the times in your life, you're able to perform very well at the last moment because you become creative. But it is not good for your career and academics, because just like in finance, in career and academics, compounding works. Consistent effort only works. Whereas for living life, perceiving is an excellent trait. Life cannot be planned. It should be spontaneous. It should be fun. Whereas on the other hand, judging, J, and koalas are J, judging, they love planning. They hate doing things at the last moment. The moment they see a problem, automatically there is a plan formulating in their head. If they're not able to formulate a plan, they suddenly become a little anxious. Oh my God, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? This question keeps coming back to their mind. Judging excellent for academics and careers, don't overdo it. Don't fall in love with your plans. Plans are just an indicator, just to help you out. Things can happen not according to your plan as well. Most of the things in your life actually don't happen according to your plan. That means that doesn't mean that you're a bad person. You don't know how to make plans. Don't judge yourself. Don't make higher targets. Just try to learn from it that there was a better way to do this. If you change your perspective, you will suddenly start enjoying everything that you do. Okay, I'm not going to spend more time on this. There are a bunch of questions in chat before we move on to the next section, which is the networking part, which is why you guys are here. But yeah, Melody, anything that you think I should answer right now, please let me know.
I think everyone's just engaged and we're ready to move on to the next section.
Okay, awesome. This brings us to what is an entrepreneurial personality. And if you are supposed to be an entrepreneur, what kind of personality do you need to develop? Which out of the 16 is a good one? The answer is none of them and all of them. Entrepreneurial personality, you need to develop some special features, some special traits. All right, guys. Not everyone can take up the journey of an entrepreneur. Not everyone is supposed to start something at the age of 18. Not everyone is supposed to start something at the age of 50. But a true entrepreneur doesn't care about age. They will start the moment they feel that the moment is right. So they need to have a problem-solving mindset. And as entrepreneurs, you need to understand what problem are you solving. If you're solving your own problem, like an influencer on Instagram would do or TikTok, right? That's okay. That's absolutely okay. You want to make a lot of money by selling your talent. It's absolutely okay. You're an entrepreneur. But does that make you a social entrepreneur? No, because you're not solving the society's problem. You're solving your own problem. However, there are influencers who actually make a lot of people aware about the society's challenges. But still, at the end of the day, they're still an influencer. All right. Second is market's problem. Every product that you see out there, all the big brands that you know, Uber and Airbnb and OpenAI, they're solving the market's problem. There was a need in the market for which people were willing to pay money. And in order to solve that need, in order to cater to that demand, you made something. You made a product or you made a service. You're solving the market's demand. That is traditionally what capitalism is all about. Again, does that make you a social entrepreneur? Not necessarily. If you are solving a society's problem, that makes you a social entrepreneur. And again, there is nothing wrong with any of these options. You just need to be absolutely clear which problem are you solving right now. And you can solve multiple problems simultaneously, but you need to be absolutely clear, because if you're not clear, your entrepreneurship journey is not going to be enjoyable at all. You will not taste success because you're not clear about what you want to do. And an entrepreneur has to be stupidly, ridiculously clear about what they want to do. So that is why if you go on my LinkedIn, and I've written over there, my mission is to make India career mentorship ready by 2030. I'm so stubbornly, obsessively clear about it. And everything that I do aligns with that. Next is you need to have a learning mindset. Constant learning, constant. I learn every single day. You should develop, this unique, optimistic feeling. You should not give up. All those motivational quotes that you see on YouTube, go ahead, great, wonderful. But you will need an anchor, like the photo I showed in the beginning of the presentation. That's my anchor. Whenever I feel down, demotivated, deflated, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm doing whatever I'm doing so that there will be some young people who will solve the climate problem and I can see the mountains again from my house. That is what my anchor is. Find the silver lining. Everything that you do, there is something to be learned from it. Even if your plans fail, like I suggested last time, it's absolutely okay. That means there's a better way of doing things, which you can learn. So next time, you'll do a better job. There's constant learning, endless learning. That is why you will see a lot of entrepreneurs, even if they are 70, 80 years old, they just don't give up. I know this entrepreneur from Japan. He's a Kiwi. He's from New Zealand originally, but he's been living in Japan since the late 80s. He's opened some 20 odd companies. He's 65, 66 years old. He doesn't stop. He cannot stop because he just finds, oh my God, this is also possible. Let me do it. You will have to have a gut feeling, a very strong gut feeling, but you will have to support it with research. So don't run away from research. Don't run away from learning about the market, learning about what's possible, what other experiments were done, why did they fail, why could you succeed, what do you need to do to succeed. Never shy away from research. Research is learning, and then falling in love with failure. As an entrepreneur, you will constantly look for failures. It might sound a little counterintuitive for you, but you will constantly look for failures. A lot of you might be familiar with what Mark Zuckerberg said, like in the initial years of Facebook. What is it? Move fast and break things. Yeah. Why do you think he wanted to give a lot of people hundreds of thousands of dollars to break things? Because he wanted to learn from the failure very quickly. The more failure, the better, more learning there is, right? So regular iterations, especially in the tech world. Okay. And finally, and this is my personal favorite, a bias towards action. A lot of you are extremely good at thinking, strategic thinking, but you will just not take the action. You will just not take the first step. If you have an idea, who's stopping you from opening up YouTube and looking at a channel, how to make a pitch, and then making a bloody pitch about your idea, right? I mean, who's stopping you doing that? Nobody's stopping you. Then why are you not taking that action? If you're not taking that action, you're not yet there. You're not ready to become an entrepreneur yet. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about bias towards action. How will you do that? You will have to nurture the 21st century skill, guys. I'm assuming a lot of you are, young students here. Then you will have to have an intellectual and emotional balance. If you are addicted to social media or whatever, you will need to learn how to balance. You will need to have high empathy, high EQ, balance it with the good IQ, good learning mindset. Only then it is possible to have a good entrepreneurial personality. And you need to know to share your knowledge. The world is more interconnected. Why am I giving this monologue to you guys? Because I want you to know what's possible out there. If you had not attended this session, you might have missed learning a few things. Similarly, you need to share your knowledge with others because you never know what the other person will take out of it. And then they might become your collaborators in the future. They might become your employers. They might become your team members. What do I do in bias towards action? My secret is I hedge my bets. That means I will start 2-3 projects, okay, because I'm restless like that, and my mind, constantly has multiple ideas that I want to work on. I will start each of them, okay. I will keep giving consistent effort in each of them so that over a few years it compounds. I'll take the example of this, right? I had no idea about what purpose in motion is. One of my mentors, who I know from 2009, suggested after COVID, we connected again, online, remote, everyone was talking to each other. He suggested, you know what, this program is there. I think you'll be a good fit for it. This was 2022. I said, okay, if you're saying so, I'll just join, right? And I did a little bit of background research, and I was like, damn, these guys are good. They're really doing some good stuff. So I applied, and they liked what I did. And here we are 2 years later. And, I'm really, really grateful to them for having me, giving me this platform to be a part of their 10-year celebration. Now, if I had not done that in 2022 because my friend invited me over for beer, or there was something else that I thought was more important, you don't know what's important unless and until it becomes important. So that's what I do. I hedge my bets. If I invest in 5 projects, some will fail initially, but they might succeed later on. Some will give immediate results, but they might fail later on. But eventually, all 5-6 of them will start giving you results. Be patient. I'm not patient at all. That's why I hedge my bets. So my energy is divided into those 4-5 projects. So then once I'm tired, then I go to sleep and I'm happy because I did my work. Keep working. Never stop working. As an entrepreneur, you need to keep building your product, keep building, which will help you develop enough work for yourself. A lot of you might be facing, okay, somebody told me I need to do this and I'll be an entrepreneur, or I need to do this and I'll have a good pitch. I did all that. So is it the world's best pitch yet? No, right? How do you know? Have you participated in any competition yet? Every country, every city, every university in the world nowadays has startup competitions. Have you participated in your local competition yet? Have you taken any feedback? The entrepreneur from Japan that I'm talking about, you know what his process is? What he would do? His name is Terry Lloyd, by the way. If you want to check him out, go ahead. I did a podcast also with him. His process is very simple. He will write the moment an idea comes to his mind, he will immediately make a 5-slide pitch deck. This is the problem, this is the solution, this is what I'm going to do. All right, this is how I'm going to do it. And this is the money that I need for it. Okay, 5 slides. Then he will send it to his circle, his network, who he thinks will be able to give good feedback. Then what happens is everyone, like those 5 people that he sends the slides to, they come back with really harsh comments, really bad criticism, and he just accepts all of it. Then he includes all that criticism in his slide deck. The slide deck suddenly becomes better. Then he sends it to another 5 people. Then there will be some positive, but mostly negative feedback. He will again incorporate all that feedback, send it to another 5 people. He keeps doing this till the time the last 5 people, they're like, oh my God, when do I invest? How much money do you need? Can you take a check? That's how you go about it. Don't stop working. All right, you're all young people. You know what we need to do. Half the world's population is under the age of 35. We need to run the world. The world literally belongs to us. Well, I'm not 35 anymore, but still, you get the point. And if you do not do something, there's a law of inaction. That means because you're not participating, you're still contributing to it. Okay, how can you take action? Academically, professionally, community service, digitally, consuming, all these things, work in regulations, transparency, industry, politics, consumerism. These are the options where you can actually build an entrepreneurial empire. How will you do this? Why should you do all of this? How will you build your network? How will you know more people? Now, let me give you a taste of how that happens and what that leads to. Okay, so how do you collaborate with somebody you don't know? How do you approach somebody? There was some research a few years ago. I think it's part of some book also, that if you want to connect to, let's say, I don't know, Bill Gates, it will only take 6 calls, 6 phone calls, and you will reach Bill Gates. Yes, literally, because now somebody will know somebody, somebody will know somebody. And let's say you do reach out to Bill Gates. What are you going to offer them? Hi, Bill. And that's it. So you can reach anybody that you want. But what are you going to offer them? If you have nothing to offer, if you think you have nothing to offer, you're wrong. You have your time to offer. Hey, can I do some free work for you? Can I do your digital calendar? Can I do things that you hate to do? You can share your knowledge. Hey, I'm from this part of the world. I know you guys want to work in this part of the world. How can I help? Provide a service. Hey, can I, be an intern with you? Provide connections. Hey, I know some schools in my, network. Can Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation want to do something with them? Provide support them on social media. If they are asking for a vote, a poll, go ahead. If they're asking on change.org to sign the petition, go ahead. Share their posts on your social media. Support them. Unconditional support, they will recognize you. And at the end, if you can provide business, nothing better than that. All right. So try offering something in return for nothing. Now, if you look at Wisdom Wednesday on the right-hand side, I'm the first person in the entire big giant country of India to actually talk about how different career counselors and education counselors should come together to work with clients, which sounds counterintuitive again. But then in education, it takes a village to raise a kid. How can one person raise 100 kids? I mean, that's what they're trying to do. That's what everyone's trying to do. Nobody wants to share their trade secrets. But that's not the thing. I started a podcast in 2020. I wanted to invite this guy, Vidyadhar Prabhu Desai. All right. And by the way, he's the mentor who recommended me to Pim. And I didn't know what to talk about. So I said, you know what? I know how to make a podcast. I learned about it. I figured it out on my own. I used to do initial recordings on Skype by doing screen recording. It was really, really bad. But yeah, hey, doesn't matter. They have never been on a podcast. They were excited about it. They had nothing to do during the podcast, the pandemic. And once we had a nice heart to heart conversation, we knew so much more about each other. Then we started endorsing each other at various things. If this podcast had not happened, maybe Vidyadhar might not have recommended the PIM program to me. And you'll be surprised to know he signed up for PIM as well as a mentor, but he never found the time to contribute. But I could. And now it has changed the journey which I'm on. Recently, we started open source mentorship. Again, that's inspired by PIM. What I felt was a lot of students across the world who are coming to PIM, they get access to wonderful mentors and the wonderful curriculum that PIM has, and all the beautiful things around that. But what about students who will never get selected, or countries where this program doesn't exist, or students who want to do something but they don't know how? So what we do is we regularly have YouTube lives where we break down large problems. Like, for example, I think 4th of May was World Press Freedom Day. And this year, 2024, is a very important year for the entire world because half the world is undergoing elections, half the population of the world is voting. India, Russia, Nigeria, major populations in the world are voting. It's a very momentous year. And then it's also important because this is the year with the highest amount of fake news, AI generated deepfakes in the world. So I invited Uzair, who is working with Google and Meta to counter fake news. And I said, you know what, Uzair, we need to break down this problem. We broke it down. We understood where the fake news comes from. For the first time in my life, I understood there's a difference between misinformation and disinformation. And wouldn't you like to know? Go check out the episode. Okay, this is my podcast, guys. Um, this guy with the United Nations background in the middle with a gray coat, he works for UNODC. He has this program which won the UN award for education for justice. Then, this guy at the bottom, his name is Richard. He's from Helsinki in Finland, and he's created this platform which will tell you which culture do you belong to, not just based on your passport, but also how you think, how you solve problems, how you interact with people. And he has done that after 15, 20 years in the field of edtech, right? Similarly, each one of these guys are amazing at what they have done. I had never known their journeys. And now I know. And with half of them, I'm doing business right now, like proper money based businesses. Okay. These are the topics that I focus on. And these are the kind of people that I invite over to my podcast, free of cost. So they do find time and come over. Open source mentorship. We started this approaching the new normal in education. These are a bunch of education researchers. We wanted to know what's going to happen after the pandemic. We're going to restart this now, hopefully by the end of this year. Again, YouTube Live, we just talk about education. That's all. And yeah, that's my time. I would like to now stop sharing. Oh, I took a little bit more time, Melody. I'm so sorry.
No problem. That was super fascinating. I've been taking a lot of notes, and I'm sure a lot of our audience has been doing the same thing, but would love to now transition over to Q&A. We did receive a lot of questions, so I'll go ahead and get started. And for our audience who's joining us in live right now, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. Would love to ask them and have Saurabh answer them for us. So the first question I have is, what advice would you give to someone starting in their journey in social entrepreneurship with limited resources for networking and partnership development?
Okay. First thing, there are a lot of webinars happening consistently across the world, free of cost, no eligibility criteria, no entrance barriers. Just like the one which is happening right now, right? How many of these do you attend on a weekly basis? UNDP does regular programs. The World Bank does regular programs. IMF does regular programs. Different governments of the world do regular programs. How many of you are part of that? How many of you are asking questions over there? Because if you do not ask questions, nobody will know who you are. This is the first step for networking. Then you reach out to them. I recently did a talk for UNDP, for their bunch of change makers in India. And a lot of them reached out to me on LinkedIn later on, and we connected. And we're like, okay, fine, let's figure this out. We'll do some projects in your area, and you're going to support all those projects. Otherwise, I would never know those people. They would never know me. You are living in a world where there is so much knowledge to be had. It's crazy. And if you have
Absolutely.
access to, yeah, if you have access to the internet, if you have access to the computer, you don't need any other resources.
Yeah. Seek out different opportunities, take action, be proactive, and reach out and don't be shy. That's great advice. So next, I guess following that, what would you say are some of the prerequisites for effective network building? Or do you feel like it's a skill of connection based off of practice? How can somebody really take that first step and reach out to somebody on LinkedIn? Like, what kind of conversations should they be having when they reach out?
Yeah, see, it's a skill, no doubt. It will take you some time to overcome your own inhibitions. You might feel like an imposter. You might feel underconfident. It's okay. If you send a message and you do not get a reply, it's okay. Because if you do get a reply, then you're connected to the person. But if you don't get the reply, you were not connected to the person anyhow, right? So what's the harm in reaching out? Secondly, as I said, try to offer something for free. A lot of people have literally replied to me, but what do you want in return for this? I said, nothing. I just want to have a chat with you. And I want to record it and I want to edit it. And I'm not going to be political. I'm not going to touch any sensitive topics. I'm just going to talk about the problem that the world is going through and how do we solve it. Plain and simple. That's it. And I prepare well for it. I look at their profiles. I do some journalistic work. You can do that too. I didn't study journalism. I never did a podcast before in my life. And welcome Melody to the house. She's a recent podcaster. Melody, you tell us, did you practice podcasting in your kindergarten or something?
Yeah, so I recently launched a podcast as well. It's called Education 360. So for anybody who's interested in listening, feel free to follow the journey on LinkedIn, Spotify, or on Apple Podcasts. And Saurabh was an incredible guest on our show. It was just live last week, though we recorded it a couple weeks or months ago, actually. And it's been really empowering, I think. Just take the first step, just try it out, and slowly make revisions as you get feedback from your audience.
Exactly. Who's stopping you? Nobody. Go ahead. Do screen recording for Skype or free version of Zoom. It's okay. Go ahead. Do something. Bias towards action. Take the action.
Absolutely. And as
Exactly,
Leslie said,
Leslie.
the only person stopping you is you.
Yes.
Great. We have a question from Tony. How do you think about having an accountability partner? How do I know or find the right person for that? Is it possible for me to be my own accountable partner and keeping myself in check?
I think initially when you start your journeys, it's important to have an accountability partner. That's how our education systems are designed. That's why you have teachers. That's why you have exams. That is all about accountability. They want to know whether you've learned something or not, right? But as you go on your journey is going to be unique. It's not a carbon copy of somebody else's journey, right? Your life is going to have its own challenges and you have your own circumstances and background and all the other wonderful things that come across with it. So your accountability partner can only help you to a certain extent in your journey. And in the education ecosystem, higher education ecosystem, they've already taught you how to be accountable to yourself. They've taught you that if you read a new concept, unless and until you apply the concept, it's useless. It's just trivia. So when you learn something new about the world, did you apply it? Have you tried applying it? Because that should be your biggest accountability. Yesterday, I was talking to this wonderful startup. Well, it's not a startup anymore, but a wonderful company in India. They help build ventures, so they help founders build their companies, right? And they were talking about success and so on. And I said, how do you define success? And they had a very clear, metric. They said product market fit. If the product is accepted by the market, people are willing to pay for it, that's success for us. Great. So that's the accountability. What else do you need? You don't need validation from anybody else. If you are doing work, it is getting compounded. You don't need somebody to come in and tell you you're doing good work or you're doing bad work. You will automatically know whether it's good or bad because the results will tell you. However, if you stop doing the work and you're frustrated with the world and you're angry at the world, oh, I did this also, nothing happened, and the system is bad, and people don't support me, and this and that, and all those things, it's very easy to go down that rabbit hole. And each one of us will go there. It's human nature. But what you need to do is next day, after you have a long hangover, you need to get up again and start doing the same thing again. Because if you stop, then there's no success, then there's no accountability.
Absolutely. I love that. So before I jump into the next question, we would love to get your everyone's feedback on our event so far. And so I will share a QR code on the screen, so feel free to scan this as we are continuing our Q&A, just so we can improve our events and continue to bring you great events going forward. And if you have any suggestions on speakers going forward, you can also share it in the feedback form. All right, so the next question we have is, Saurabh, what have been some of the biggest challenges you faced while building networks across different cultures and countries, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. So yeah, I've had the privilege of living in many parts of India. India, you can look at India like as if it is Europe. Every state has a different language, different culture, different food, different climate. So I've had the privilege of doing that because my father moved around a lot. Our family moved around a lot. That gave me a certain set of adaptability, flexibility skills. Then I also had the privilege of living in Denmark for almost a year. Before the pandemic, I was living in Japan for almost a year. It's difficult to fit in, man. It's difficult. Initially, it's very difficult. In fact, I remember the first time I lived in Denmark. For the first 3 days, I didn't want to come out of my room. Why? Because I just felt that I don't fit in. Why am I here? I need to go back. But then, how do you overcome this? And this is what I tell a lot of my business partners also. They talk a lot about geographical bias, cultural bias, regional bias. All those things are true, absolutely true. But below all those layers, we have the same DNA. We're all human beings. We feel the same things. We talk about the same things. We feel bad. We have good days. We have bad days. We feel good. We want to learn. We want to give back. We want to create an impact. We want to leave a legacy. We want to have good life partners and so on. Why do you think, based on a 2-minute test, and talking to all you people, I've never met you before, but I'm pretty sure, and you can please call me out on this, I'm pretty sure that some of the things that I mentioned about your personality might have, you might have related to it. How is it possible to do that? Because at the end of the day, we are all human beings. So here I was in Denmark trying to connect with Danes, and I could not. And then I was just sitting at a bar, and there was another guy who was sitting at a bar. He was having a beer, and I was like, "Hey man, what's up?" And he was like, "Yeah, hey, let's have a beer together." I said, "Yes, let's do it." He was an American, very very extroverted. There's no, I'm not going to go into that stereotype, but yeah, he used to, he wanted to talk a lot, and then he was like, "Yeah, let's have a beer together." And then I found out that just like in India, everyone wants to go and first become an engineer and then want to figure out what they want to do with the rest of their life. In the US, everyone wants to pursue psychology in their bachelor's before they figure out what they want to do in the rest of their life. Random conversations will leave you with the best insights about human beings. So please don't shy away from putting yourself out there. Start with professional networking, start with social networking. There are apps for it. There is something called Meetup, there is something called Eventbrite. I think the tickets for this particular event were on Eventbrite. All right. You will find like minded people in any part of the world. If you're a traveler, download Couchsurfing. All right. Connect with more people. But yes, you will have to be open to listening. If you just want to connect with people so that you can keep blah blah blah, blah blabbing and waiting for them to listen to your wonderful story, that might happen, but then that's not how you go about networking. You need to listen more. So if you're open for listening, any human being across the world, even if they don't speak your language, they will open up to you. They will invite you to their house, they will serve you a hot meal, and you will have a good time with them.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I want us to open up to the floor to see if we have any last questions for Saurabh before we take a group photo. Feel free to just also turn on your cameras and audio. All right, if not, we will go ahead and take our group photo. And at this time, we would still love for you to turn on your cameras. And we will be inviting everyone to a LinkedIn group afterwards in which we will be sharing this photo. So everyone will have this afterwards. Okay, I'll wait a couple more seconds for folks to turn on their cameras and then we'll take our group photo. Perfect, beautiful. Great to see everyone's faces. All right, and Leslie, if you don't mind doing the countdown and taking the photo for us. Thank you.
3, 2, 1, cheese. Nice. I love the peace signs.
Yes.
Beautiful. All right. Now I'd like to invite everyone to join our LinkedIn group. You can scan the QR code on the screen or find us at Purpose in Motion on LinkedIn. For our special LinkedIn group, you'll have to actually be invited and accepted. It's called PIM Impact Academy. PIM Impact Community, in which you can also find in LinkedIn. And that's where you'll be connected with other social entrepreneurs, other social impact change makers as well who are in this space. So definitely recommend you joining it. And you'll find myself, Saurabh, Leslie, and many other people in this group. So feel free to just reach out to us if you have any questions and start networking, as Saurabh has shared with us today. All right, so that concludes our 10th anniversary event for this month. But I also wanted to hand it over to Saurabh to see if there's any last words you wanted to share with our audience.
We're all in this together, man. I mean, we need to do this together. We need to support each other. That's all. You have some wonderful ideas, crazy ideas. Reach out to us at PIM. Let's figure it out. Let's figure out how to do this for you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Saurabh. And thank you all for taking the first step by joining our event and becoming change makers yourself. We're really looking forward to seeing how your journey unfolds. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn or via email. And we're looking forward to continuing on this journey of being change makers together.
A big thank you again for Saurabh, for everyone here, and also for Melody for doing such a good job organizing and moderating. Well done, Melody. Woohoo!
Yeah. All right, we hope to see everyone again next month. Bye. Have a good day.